Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radhe Govinda Jayo, Radhe Govinda. 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 Nitya Satchidananda, Nitya Satchidananda. Nitya Hare Krishna. So welcome everybody to Tuesday mornings Bhagavatam class, and we're reading this morning from the first canto, chapter 9, and we're on text, I think it's number 21. Jai. The passing away of Vishnudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, text number 21. So, Sarvatmana Samadrisho Yadvaya Yasyanahan Krite Tatkritam Mati Vaishamyam Nirajasya Nakavich. Could I get my glasses actually? Just there in the chair. Just there. Yeah. Just move things out there. Thank you. Sorry, I don't want to murder the Sanskrit here. Give it a bit of a chance. Sarvatmana Samadrisho Yadvayas Yananan Kritahe Tat Kritam Mati Vaishamyam Niradadyasyagna Kvachit Sarvatmana Samadrisho Yadvasyas Yana Hankrite Tat Kritam Mati Vaishamyam Nirvadyasyana Kvachit Sarvatmana Samadrisho Yadvayas Yana Hankrite Tat Kritam Mati Vaishamyam Nirvadyasyana Kvachit Sarvatma Samadrisho Yadvayas Yana Hankrite Tat Kritam Mati Vaishamyam Niravadyasya Kapachit. Sarva Atmana, of one who is present in everyone's heart.
Of one who is present in everyone's heart.
Samadrisha, of one who is equally kind to one and all.
Of one who is equally kind to one and all.
He certainly. Advayasya, of the Absolute. Anahankrite, free from all material identity of false ego. Tatkritam, everything done by him. Mati, consciousness. Vaishamyam, differentiation. Niravadyasya, freed from all attachment. Na, never. Quachit
Cratchit,
at any stage.
any stage.
Interesting. And the translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, He is present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone, and He is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever He does is free from material inebriety. He is equibalanced. So maybe repeat that again. Being the absolute personality of Godhead,
Being the absolute personality of Godhead,
He is present in everyone's heart.
He is present in everyone's heart.
He is equally kind to everyone,
He is equally kind to everyone,
and He is free from
and He is free from
the false ego of differentiation.
false ego of differentiation.
Therefore, whatever He does
Therefore, whatever He does
is free from material inebriety.
is free from material inebriety.
He is equibalanced.
He is equibalanced.
Purport. Because He is absolute, there is nothing different from Him. He is kaivalya. There is nothing except Himself. Everything and everyone is the manifestation of His energy, and thus He is present everywhere by His energy being non-different from it. The sun is identified with every inch of the sun rays and every molecular particle of the rays. Similarly, the Lord is distributed by His different energies. He is Paramatma, or the Supersoul, present in everyone as the supreme guidance. And therefore, He is already the chariot driver and counselor of all living entities. Of all living beings. When He, therefore, exhibits Himself as chariot driver of Arjuna, there is no change in His exalted position. It is the power of devotional service only that demonstrates Him as the chariot driver or the messenger. Since He has nothing to do with the material conception of life because He is absolute spiritual identity, there is for Him no superior or inferior action. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, He has no false ego, and so He does not identify Himself with anything different from Him. The material conception of ego is equibalanced in Him. He does not feel, therefore, inferior by becoming the chariot driver of His pure devotee. It is the glory of the pure devotee that only he can bring about service from the affectionate Lord. Amaginadimanandasya jana jana shalakaya chakshurnitamdina tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Tagati Svabhagantikam Nama Om Vishnu Badai Krishna Vastai Bhutale Shivani Satsrutas Swami Iti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Badai Krishna Vastai Bhutale Shivani Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurivani Pacharine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvashesha Shannivari Paschata Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. So we have a lot of interesting verses here because the purport and the verse itself correlates with many verses that is in the Bhagavad Gita itself. Let's just examine that, why that is. Being the supreme absolute personality of Godhead, He is present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone, and He is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever He does is free from material inebriety. He is equibalanced. So that immediately made me think of the 9th chapter, verse number 4. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagata vyaktamurtina matstani sarva bhutani na chaham teshvavastita. I think that's what it is. I shall just check it complete. 9.4 and 9.5. Krishna says, I am, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. By me and my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So that is the way that is. Machstani Sarvabhutani Nachaham Teshvavastitam is right, yes. And now the next verse at 9.5 is very interesting as well. Nacha Matstani Bhutani Pasyame Yogam Ashvayam Bhuta Brit Nacha Bhutoshto Mamatma Bhuta Bhavita. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. So these are very kind of pivotal verses in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is everywhere, but yet, and everything is in him, yet he is not everywhere as well at the same time. It's kind of like one of those conundrums or apparent contradictions, simultaneous one and different contradictions. And then, actually, the point that's been made basically is that Krishna is everything, you know, and especially when it comes to the material world, because that's what we're conscious of. Because, folks, we're in the material world, although I'm sure a lot of you there are in the spiritual world as well. Maybe not all the time, but that's our dilemma. And again, there is very clear verses in Bhagavatam, on Bhagavad Gita, which point this out. 7.4 and 7.5. Again, we're on the 4s and 5s here again. Sorry, I'm on 6.4 and 6.5. 7.4 and 7.5, which says, Earth, water, boomer apo nalavayu, kam manak bodhar eva cha, ahankara ityame, binner prakriti astada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, and mind, intelligence, and false ego. All together, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. So there we have the understanding of Krishna's separated material energies. You know, solids, liquids, and gases, and then the more subtle one. And so the whole universe, this is all created by Krishna. So Krishna is non-different. He's the creator. He's in there, and he's not Maya Tatami Dhamma Sarvam Jagatri Bhaktamurti now. But it's part of his energy. Then there's the other part, is 7.5, very nicely presented by Krishna, obviously. Apariyam itas tvanyam. I want to read this properly. These glasses again. Apariyam itas tvanyam. Prakatam vidi me param. Jiva bhuta mahabaho. Yayadam daryate jagat. And it says, besides these, almighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So we have this material nature that's created by Krishna, and then there's this marginal energy, the living entities, and they are, in this instance, they're exploiting the material energy. They're getting in there and thinking that they're gods of everything. You know, there's material energies getting in there, and going in and trying to exploit the material energy. This is what they're doing. These nasty living entities. But actually, they're Krishna's superior energy, just like the material energy is as well. But then you have the supreme energy, who's Krishna. So it's Krishna who's giving life to these 2 different forms. You know, the marginal energy and the material energy, and that's the superior energy, which is Krishna. So that's what this verse is actually explaining, that Krishna is he's enlivening, he's enlightening, he's energizing this whole cosmic manifestation, this whole cosmic sphere. He's energizing it all. It's all coming from Krishna. And us, we're in 2 particles here. We've got the material energy, which is, you know, our outer covering, and then there's the soul proper. Now, as we discovered, if anyone was there on the class on Sunday, the living entity is in the material world, but what's happening to him? He's being tossed and turned. He thinks he's in control of things. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. Ahankar vinudhatma kartahamiti manyate. The ahankar is the false ego, thinks he's the doer of activities which are in fact carried out by nature. So the nature is tossing and turning him around in the whole material ocean, and the living entity thinks that he's in control. He might be able to toss the water aside for a second or something, but it's not, as the water's hand is controlled by Krishna. Everything is controlled by Krishna. His blood cells, his white cells, his red blood corpuscles, his the air, the very toenails, all of this is all controlled by Krishna, and the living entity is doing nothing. The only thing the living entity can do is he can desire, so he should desire only Krishna. Krishna then gives him a chance to desire in such a way as to desire only him. That is what we're trying to get to, not to desire this nasty material world. Well, it's not nasty, but you know what I'm saying. And not to get entangled in this horrible material world, because it's only the modes of nature here, this goodness, passion and ignorance. And if you're stuck in ignorance, you're in a bad place, because there's only going to be horror, horror stories. Well, there's going to be horror stories anyway, because it's our karma. We're here because of karma. This is Krishna's impersonal energy. It dictates one way or the other. Do you know? The impersonal, the energy just acts on the living entity, and Krishna is empowering the modes of nature to Vishnu, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and they're just acting on the living entity, and the living entity is in this ocean. He's being tossed around one way or the other, and he's getting the results of his karma. So how is he getting the results of his karma? Because he forgets it, doesn't he? He's not able to remember. But Krishna is not only in every atom of the material energy, but he's also in the super soul, or he's the super soul in the soul, or accompanying the soul of the living entity. So he reminds the living entity. I don't know if anyone has ever got that impression. Why are we the way we are, in this life? I'll be a little bit revelatory. It's not very interesting, but just in my own kind of life when I was growing up, and I was about, I think my first consciousness was about 3 or 4 years old, and because it's interesting, because that's when we actually start to develop our character, or we're reminded of who we are from our previous lifetime. And I remember going to school. There's 2 classes. There's babies and senior infants, I think, 5 and 6 year old, and then you go into first class. And I remember I missed quite a bit of the school, because I don't know, maybe I was a bit of a mommy's boy, or maybe I was a little sick or something. I can't remember what. But I was trying not to take some credit here, which is absolutely no credit. They used to have examinations, and I used to do them because I was in school, and this was an actual thing. But when I got into first class, the first year, I started getting first in things, as regards academic things, as academic as you get in first class. And I didn't know why that was, there was no reason why I wasn't different, or was it 7th or 8th or 10th or 50th or last or whatever. And there was nothing I did to get it. And also then I was a good athlete as well. For some reason I was a good athlete. And I used to do athletics and whatever. But this was all kind of foisted on me. It wasn't that I was doing anything to get this. And it seemed at the time it was this was to my credit. I was, he's very good in school, he's very good. My mother would tell the neighbours, he's very good in school, Sorry, I'm kind of digressing a little bit here. But I'm just trying to get to the point that, we are kind of reminded about who we are as we go along. We don't take any credit for who we are, really. It's just our karma. This is the point I'm saying. The super soul's reminding us from our previous activity who we were, and then he's giving us this karma. So I mean, I could go on and on and on, you know, in that particular incident. But I do remember one incident actually, which I thought was quite interesting. There was this competition whereby we would compete in 5 different athletics. I think it was jumping, high jumping, long jumping, hurdles, 800 meters, and sprint. And and I kind of entered into all of them and did quite well in them all. And this was it was in Billy Morton Stadium in Santry. It's the national stadium actually. So just to give you more background, more context. And but I remember looking at the sky actually at one point there at the end of one of those competitions, and thinking, and looking at, and seeing and kind of acknowledging the existence of a superior force or of God. I remember actually looking at that time, and I was about 11 or so, and amazingly enough, at that time, 11, 12, 13, things began to change. You know, everything that was so-called seemingly good in my life started to, you know, I started to drift, get a little bit second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, you know, things started to not go. I mean, I still did some athletics and whatever, but not to the degree that I kind of felt that I was able to do. So there was other forces starting to kick in much more strongly at that time, when the modes of nature, and again I was kind of almost like helpless. I have often thought, why did I not do this, or why did I not do this? But again, there was the super soul was reminding what was happening, and then my negative karma. I'm saying this as a universal. I'm not trying to just talk about myself. If I can get that point across. It's interesting though. It's called a self-realization, examining the activities of the living entity of oneself, and it basically was not until I wasn't 17, 18, 19 that I was able to actually make a stand again, because I was completely taken by the modes of nature in a specific situation, and eventually I was able to actually say, what is this happening? What's happening here? And then I began to really start investigating spiritual life. So, anyway, it's the idea of the living entity. My wife is just yawning there in the background. The living entity who is stuck in a particular situation, and then is being tossed around by the waves of matter, you know, the waves of the material energy. But at some point, the one thing that the living entity has is that desire to be self-realized, or to be Krishna conscious, or to perform devotional service. I didn't know at the time, but that's because that's the only true meaning to the living entity, is when the living entity performs devotional service. Bhaktimam Avijanati Ivanyas Jasmi Tattvataha, which is only by undivided devotional service can I understand who I am standing here before you. This is what we want to get to. This is the only this is our real. This is the science of self-realization, understanding who we are. Otherwise, we'll be tossed and turned by the laws of nature. So why am I talking about this now? Because kind of, you know, I'm talking about myself, but surely I should be talking about Bhishma Dev and Yudhishthira. But this is the amazing thing about Krishna, because we're talking this whole Bhagavatam is about how amazing Krishna is and how personal Krishna is. Here in the previous verse, it said that Bhishma is saying to Yudhishthira, listen, can you not understand? The person who was who was with you, who hung out with you, who was your, he was your chariot driver, he was your guide, he was your friend. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You know, what's wrong? I mean, Yudhishthira here he's actually basically he's overtaken by grief. You know, it's very clear. He's been totally overtaken by grief, and nobody can console him. Some people might have got a little taste of that last night when they heard that there was a lockdown in number 5, you know, and suddenly you're stunned. Oh my God, what am I going to do? My business is ruined, you know. What will happen to the restaurant, you know? and then you start, your mind goes kind of boo, 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 boo. So can you imagine what happened to Yudhishthir? He had been just in a war, and he had killed all his relatives, and he had just one of the persons, his great teacher, was lying there actually, and he looked on him, and I'm the cause of this man in this situation. He's my elder. Where will there be any salvation for me? Perform some Ashwamedha Yogya. That's some ritual. What will that do? The fact is that all these people here are dead in front of me, and I'm the cause of it. That's how Yudhishthira is thinking. I mean, he had Krishna next to him. Krishna was talking to him and telling him, this is nonsense. You're meant to. This is meant to be. You're meant to do this. You're doing this under my order. But still, he was lamenting. He was completely in grief. He was grief stricken, but Krishna had arranged everything so that he could be spoken to by Bhishma, and Bhishma could give him the real understanding. What an incredible thing for Krishna to do, and how personal. And this is the whole crux of this issue. This is the whole crux here, because Krishna is directly involved. Krishna is personal. Krishna is coming to Yudhishthira and explaining him what's happening. Otherwise, it's the material energy. Maya Jakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam 9:10. Krishna is meting out the karma to all the living entities who are seated on this machine as though made of material energy. This is the kind of the impersonal and personal aspect of God, you could say. The laws of karma are stringent. They're impossible to overcome. They're there. But one who is surrendered to me, but one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond them. So now we're getting some understanding of what is going on here. Krishna, this is the Bhagavatam, this is personal. This is what Krishna is trying to tell us. He's trying to tell us that we're persons. We're not just getting the reactions of our previous activities. That's not who we are. Krishna wants us to go back to him, to the spiritual world, where this material world doesn't exist. It's not the laws of the material world aren't there. Yesterday I was in the gallery, and two kind of elderly gentlemen came in. They looked as if they were quite, they were interested in this particular artist who was quite an intellectual artist who deals with matters like divinity and Darwin's theory, and he does it in his art. He tries to presents that he's not making any comment one way or the other, but he's presenting the current thinking these days. So he has pictures of Darwin next to an ape, next to a priest, he's trying to present all of this. But anyway, these two gentlemen came in, and at the end of it, they said something very interesting to me. I didn't pursue it because I usually don't in certain circumstances in the gallery. But he said that this world there's only suffering here. There's only hardships, and for us to learn that. And he didn't say anything else. He said something, but that was the last sentence he said when he was leaving. I think we were talking about the lockdown or something. And he said, well, it's just another one. It's just another. This world isn't meant for it. So fortunately, he kind of went, and I didn't want to pursue it a little bit, but it would have been interesting to see what his angle was. But that is actually what the material world is, and for us, we're trying to get some understanding of the spiritual world, and the spiritual world is all personal, and we are personal as well. And even the Krishna consciousness movement, it's trying to operate in the material sphere. I know I have to sign the documents for the returns, the annual returns, and all that entails. We have to enlist, accountants and all sorts of stuff just to say that we're legitimate, and we have to explain why we're a charity. We have to explain what we're doing as charitable work. I mean, come on, trying to tell people about the existence of God. But that is what we're actually meant to do, That is what we're trying to do. In this country, Ireland, there's still some sort of scope for a religion, so people accept that there is a spiritual dimension, still just about, although they're trying their absolute utmost to reduce that to being just a scientist or scientific views. as we have seen even in this lockdown, the great scientist declares everything, okay, this is what we should do. No consultation to the spiritualists whom we could tell them that the reason that you're getting your comeuppance is because you've been committing grievous activities against innocent living entities like the cows, which you're destroying by the million in this country, and you're wondering why you have a pandemic. But no, you're treating the effects. You just come and say, okay, now we should inject everybody. Another bright idea. Another bright idea. After destroying the planet practically with their bright ideas for living comfortably in this material world. We're addicted to this living comfortably, and we can hardly get out of it. And we have A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He came and he set up New Vrindavan. One of the first things he did, living simply in the middle of West Virginia, in the ice in the winter, and he said, no, we should all live here, because he wanted to get away from this artificial living, and we're not allowed to say anything, or we haven't got ourselves in the position that we can say something. But we should never give up. We should never, ever, ever give up. We should try our utmost to be in a situation so that we can have some influence in this crazy society. So that is the goal of the Krishna consciousness movement. That was what Srila Prabhupada is expecting from us. So we should always be enthusiastic, determined, and patient. Things don't happen quickly. That's been my observation. It takes some time. When we came initially to Krishna consciousness, we were on a real high, and we were kind of always looking, what happened? We came, we bought islands, we bought temples, we convinced people we were strong, we gave the philosophy, we blew out the clergy with their so-called philosophy. We were little demigods, but it was because of Prabhupada's energy, and we were living off Prabhupada. But then again, we hadn't got the experience of age to realize that we were boxing a bit above our station, and that when we came down to earth a little bit, we understood that we weren't as great as we thought we were. We were still somewhat polluted by the anarthas. We hadn't got to where we thought we were. But that just shows you when the divine energy is there, can lift us up, and that's what Krishna is showing in this whole pastime with Bhishma Dev. Bhishma is trying to explain, look how Krishna came to Bhishma Dev at the end, and this is the point: is that Krishna is reciprocating with the desires of his devotees. So don't underestimate your desires, but desire in such a way as to desire only Krishna. And Krishna will fulfill all our desires, because that is who we are. We're inextricably interwoven with Krishna as his part and parcel. We have that intimate relationship with Krishna. We should turn to Krishna always. We shouldn't turn to the material energy and get distracted. We should not do that and think that we're somewhat of a God. We're not. We have a little bit of the God within us, but that's it. It's tiny, and it's can be easily covered by Maya. So Krishna is coming like this to Bhishma and to Yudhishthira, all these devotees, and he's teaching them all in one fell swoop. Even before he was taking his leave, just as he was leaving, that's when Yudhishthira came up and said, don't go, I can't. But before he left, and we just finished the pastime of Queen Kunti, Krishna went up and he bade farewell to all the ladies present, and they all had their interaction with him. And I was listening to a talk from Rajananda Maharaj explaining how such a gentleman, Krishna is such a gentleman, because he is fully appreciating the great power of these great ladies, and he's Krishna's reciprocating with them in a very powerful and totally on way, and and then sometimes we view ourselves and we don't appreciate each other. We don't appreciate the devotees, and we don't appreciate ladies. We don't appreciate men. We act completely oblivious. But Krishna's not like that, and we're meant to be a Chuta Gotra. We're meant to be in Krishna's lineage, so we're meant to treat all devotees in a proper way. That's our lineage, because we're trying to follow in Krishna's line, and so we're trying to become devotees first of all, so that we can learn how to treat others as devotees as well. But Krishna is teaching his devotees in this way. He's not using he could easily use the laws of nature to Krishna is in all these energies. It's his energy. But when somebody and this is the very special part, and which we talk about in the Bhagavad Gita in 4:11, which is Yeya Tamam Papajante Tam Sataiva Bajamyaham. I'll get the last part of that now, because it should be that. That's why 4:11. Maya Tatama Dam Yeya Tama Papajante Tam Sataiva Bajamyaham Mama Vart Manu Vartante Manusha Partha Sarvashaha. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So we should be trying to follow Krishna in person. We shouldn't be trying to follow. We shouldn't just become part of the material energy and get stuck in there, and get tossed around by the waves. We don't want that sort of reciprocation from Krishna. We don't have to live our karma again in another life. This is not what we want. Or maybe we might even live this karma. We may be due, because we haven't taken to Krishna consciousness properly. We may have to suffer the karma from 237 lifetimes back, and it happens to be a really nasty one. We don't want to go down there. We created this this horrific kind of action reaction within nature, and we don't want to be hit back by nature all the time. We punch it and then we get punched back. It's like that's the laws of karma act that way. So we don't want to be part of that particular scenario, but we want to be part of Krishna. And in the verse, Prabhupada uses some amazing words. He says, the power of devotional service demonstrates him as a chariot driver or the messenger. The word demonstrates. How did Prabhupada use that? It's just an incredible way that he used words here. When he therefore exhibits himself as the chariot driver, in the power of it is the power of devotional service only that demonstrates him as the chariot driver or the messenger. So this is the point. Krishna, he becomes these things for his devotees because he's only interested in the reciprocation. At this point there's no higher or lower. It's spiritual, complete spiritual energy. Krishna is not like us. He's not taking birth. He doesn't have a material body. It's a spiritual. So therefore these upper and lower don't matter. And this last line, just listen to this last line. It is absolutely incredible because it shows you the area where we should try to go to. It says, Prabhupada says, it is the glory of the pure devotee that only he can bring about service from the affectionate Lord. He can bring about service from the affectionate Lord. There's Bhishma. He's brought about service from the affectionate Lord. He's got Krishna to negate his promise, to pick up the wheel and to come charging at him and about to kill him because Bhishma's about to destroy all the Pandavas and Krishna will not allow it to happen. So he's brought about that from Krishna, and it's Yudhishthira's, out of love of Yudhishthira, that Krishna's arranged this whole thing. He's arranged this whole pastime that Bhishma is lying on a bed of ours and he's about to speak like this, and Bhishma is loving it, because Krishna's given him this boon that he will not feel any pain while he speaks. Otherwise, he would be feeling the pain. But Krishna has given him this special potency to speak, and he does. So just see these incredible sentences that and then Prabhupada again, he said, and this Prabhupada has said this, how Krishna is personal to everyone. Look, Prabhupada is trying to bring Krishna really to us, as Prabhupada had said in the lecture. I have captured Krishna. He is here. Prabhupada was saying, just take him. I have captured him for you. Prabhupada has spoken like that. So, this is a Kinchana culture. We're in the Achyuta Gotra. We're in the line of the inconceivable and unassailable. Another description. But Krishna says here, he is already the chariot driver and counsel of all living beings. So Krishna is that personal with all of us, just like he is with Bhishma. That's what Prabhupada is telling us. That's what Prabhupada did when he came across the ocean, just so that he could tell us this message, and he broke through all the modes of ignorance and passion, so that we could actually live, we could actually be existent here, and we could get some taste of this. This is what Prabhupada had. He was coming with all of this, and he had the whole parampara behind him, Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They were all coming across that ocean together, and Krishna was there. He was rowing the boat, They were all coming just to give us this incredible message, and so just like that was a huge heaving ocean of insignificance, we should also be in the same situation. We're also have a huge task in this material world to explain to the living entities who are deeply immersed in the modes of nature. We have this task of bringing them to this situation so that they also can have this very personal and intimate relationship with Krishna. That is what we are doing as servitors of our spiritual master, and that is the only way that we can try to repay the spiritual master. So I think that there's many things which could be spoken about, but I think that this verse in the 9th chapter, which is really shows this whole pastime very clearly, where Krishna says, I am equal to all, but one who renders service to me is my devotee and my friend. So this comes just at the end of the 9th chapter, and we'll give it the real glory that it's, we should have a big this tooting of there's a royal entrance here again. All these verses are like this, but this particular one here, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesho stina priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. And Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. So we know that, don't we? We had said that previously in 9:10. Maya jakshena prakriti seya suyate sacharacharam. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. But this one is, I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So that is like just pure bliss to hear how intimate Krishna is. So you could say there's this is the parakiya ras, what you know, Prabhupada is talking about the highest, the Parakya Rasa in the Bhagavad Gita. Don't underestimate the Bhagavad Gita. The Prabhupada then says, this incredible example that Prabhupada uses in the purport of the diamond and gold, how the living entity is gold, and the Supreme Lord is the diamond. So the diamond and the gold even looks more brilliant together. So Krishna's brilliance is in his reciprocation with his devotees. Even when the gopis are looking at Krishna, they're looking into him, and Krishna sees them and he sees them more beautiful, and he becomes more beautiful to them, and when they see him becoming more beautiful, they become more beautiful to him. So this is a constant activity which is going on between the Lord and the living entity. And I won't go into the first part of the purport. It's an incredible part. Remember 9:29. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words Yeyatam and Papajante Tamstataiva Bhajamyaham. See, it's just hinted at in that verse. Whoever surrenders unto me, proportionately I take care of him. So the transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. Krishna conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter. And when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. So that's why you have your pure devotees. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity, but in the personalist philosophy, there is. So there you have Prabhupada's and Bhaktisiddhanta's Mahavakya philosophy. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatana Deshatarni, smashing the impersonalist understanding to a pulp, and that is what we're giving, actually, and that's why the Krishna consciousness movement, we were talking with Jeevan the other day about this, should not be it's not a normal institution, It should be an institution to bring about the spiritual
revolution.
Spiritual revolution, yes, in the hearts of all the living entities. But it's bringing about the spiritual completeness, and there, this whole Ishupanishad talks about the complete and the incomplete, and how the living entity and the Lord are complete. It's such a beautiful way in which it's put in that Ishupanishad, as how they're so interdependent. So the movement itself should be a personalist movement, because every other movement is practically speaking is an impersonalist. Everyone which doesn't accept the supremacy of the Supreme is impersonal, and that's why you have personalism in so many bona fide religious systems, and you have so many wonderful practitioners of this personalist philosophy, because people are reciprocating with God. God is in there, and He wants to reciprocate. That's all He wants to do. So He's reciprocating through these other spiritual systems. So therefore they're getting this taste, and so in the Krishna consciousness movement, it is so beautifully explained. Let me finish this wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here, the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. So the material world and the living entities, remember? common with our age, hunger, itimami, billion prakadiyasata. It's 7475 is the material energy, and then there's living, but there's the living entities. Sorry, I just can't remember that verse. Whatever I do, just know to remember it. But 7.5, Krishna says that he's also manifests the living entities with impartial energy. So he just doesn't leave them to their own devices. He comes himself there as well. So the Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. So this is the important point. That's why the impersonalists, they're stuck in the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not the activity of the material world. It is part of the spiritual world, where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. So that's who we are. We're the society where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. It's the place where we practice that with Krishna, and we ultimately reciprocate with Krishna, spontaneously reciprocate with Krishna, and we're fully aware of our personal situation with Krishna. But anyway, so I'll just finish by saying that was, when I was reading that, I was just amazed at this this Mahavakya instruction, how we can easily cut through a philosophy when we find out whether it is personalist or impersonal. Because if it's impersonal philosophy, then it's Krishna in the impersonal, reciprocating with the person in an impersonal way. He doesn't, like so many people say, the God doesn't exist. I mean, this whole government is based, well, it's more and more and more and more. It's only based on science, or it gives some lip service to God. But the whole material civilization is trying to cut out God, cut out of the picture, and then this nasty materialism then just predominates. But the actual situation of the living entity and his relationship with love with God is what Prabhupada is trying to restore into the world, and it is the greatest gift that can be given. Okay, let's stop there. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the class, and the purport by His Divine Grace. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.